the science portion of the presentation. This is where the magic happens. This picture is of the reactors here at the plant in Pleasant Grove, Utah. In those small tanks up front is where the signaling molecules are made. They're then transferred to that middle tank where a pH balance occurs, and then a dilution in that last tank. When we talk about one lot or one batch of ASEA, that's one of those large tanks, 4,000 gallons of product, and that's nearly 15,000 bottles or so of ASEA. And so we're pumping a lot of product out the door to make sure that we're meeting global demand in all 33 national markets at the time of this. So I want to kind of give you guys a primer here. When I talked about diving into the science and you being responsible for certain keywords and concepts, these are those 5 concepts that if you take nothing else away from this presentation but these 5 concepts, you guys have done your job. Okay, so I'm going to run through kind of the 30-second elevator pitch utilizing these words on how ASEA works. And that goes: cell signaling molecules that are found in Renew 28 and ASEA REDOX supplement. These cell signaling molecules are tiny molecules. And because they are tiny, they are absorbed directly into the cell. Once they're absorbed into the cell, they act as an on-off switch to begin cell signaling. That cell that is switched on signals to the cells around it, and those cells signal to the cells around them. This begins a cascade or a domino effect. And this cascade or domino effect contributes to our resilience to stress and overall wellness. Okay, we'll go over that several times during this presentation so you guys can get a good feel for it. But those are the important keywords and concepts that you can use to talk about and discuss these amazing products that are really unique in the marketplace. Now, before we go any further, I really want to make sure that we understand what redox is. What is the field of redox chemistry? Redox is a simple abbreviation for reduction and oxidation. Okay, so when we say redox, we're talking reduction, oxidation. And there's this quote here that I really love, and the simplicity of it is great, but it is really profound as we move through these concepts. It says, life is nothing but electrons looking for a place to rest. So remember that as we move through this. Electrons looking for a place to rest. Let's define an electron really quickly. I know it's been a while since high school chemistry or college chemistry. So an electron is a very small negatively charged particle. It cannot be broken down into anything smaller, and it moves near the speed of light. Tons of energy associated with these electrons. An electron transfer is the process of an electron being transferred or moving from one atom or molecule to another. Okay? And when we think about electrons, I want you guys to think about this concept of a ball on top of a hill. Now, if I push that ball, just give it a little nudge, what happens? Well, it rolls down the hill. And then I'll ask, okay, well, why? And then people will start to say, okay, gravity, inertia, these concepts. And really what it comes down to is energy. There's a theme here, energy. You guys will see this, is that the ball has more potential energy at the top of the hill than it does at the bottom. And everything in the universe, if it has an opportunity to exist at a lower energy state, it will do so. So the ball, once given the opportunity, will shift from a high energy state to a low energy state. Okay? So now with that in mind, let's switch back to redox. First off, oxidation is lose, reduction is gain. We use oil rig, O-I-L-R-I-G, in chemistry. Oxidation is lose, reduction is gain. Now, the question is, if we think about through the context of the ball on top of the hill, why does this electron transfer from one atom to the other? Well, it's because it's going from a high to a low energy state. And so this transfer of electrons occurs whenever there is a difference in energy. And so the electron transfers from a high to a low energy state. That ball, or the electron, rolls down the hill. Now, this electron transfer happens in our bodies all the time, in between cells. Everything that's going on in our body is this transfer. And there's a balance associated with this. We've heard in the industry a lot about antioxidants or reductants. That's kind of become a buzzword for a lot of health gurus. But what they're missing in the picture, and what ASEA does so well, is there is a balance associated with redox chemistry. It's not all reduction. There is oxidation. There's oxidative stress. There's response to oxidative stress. And ASEA allows you to respond to that stress. We talk about resilience to stress. And so what happens is if I'm on one side of the seesaw here that we see, because I'm out of balance, I've got oxidative stress. Redox chemistry allows me to shift back into center, and then I'm knocked off again and I have to respond. ASEA improves our ability to respond to stress and recenter ourselves, achieving redox homeostasis. Okay, so we're going deep here. This is how signaling molecules are made. So at the bottom of this graph, you guys will see sodium chloride, NaCl, and that dissolves rolling down the hill to make saline. We take high purity salt, high purity water, and we mix them to make a high purity saline. Now my question to you guys is, why does salt dissolve in water? Well, that's because salt as a solid in water is higher energy than salt dissolved in water. So when you add salt to water, it wants to dissolve because those electrons are looking for a place to rest, right? Now, when we have the saline, we don't want to create a product that is the same as sodium chloride, right? That energy difference is used as energy to create a signal in your cells. So we need to create molecules that have enough energy that can be used as a signal within your cells. And so what we do is, instead of using electrolysis to make salt again, we're using electrolysis, and instead of going up a small hill back to sodium chloride, we push that ball up a bigger, larger, different hill to create different species of molecules higher in energy. Now on the left side of the graph, you'll see two lines. First, energy, which the signaling molecules are a higher energy, or redox potential. Now, in the field of redox chemistry, we use redox potential to talk about energy of molecules. So when we say we power potential, we're not just meaning the potential of the individuals in the business. We literally mean the redox potential or energy associated with signaling molecules and cell signaling. Okay? So it's that energy difference, that energy we're putting back into the molecules that is utilized by the cells to create cell signaling. Now, one of the other key words is absorption, right? Because cell signaling molecules are tiny, they are absorbed directly into the cell. So I've asked the question to a lot of associates, and I've heard answers as high as 5 minutes as to how long they hold ASEA in their mouth before they swallow it. We've done some tests recently here at the Redox Center, and we've confirmed that the majority of the absorption happens between 15 and 30 seconds. So if you're doing it longer than that, we applaud your ambition, but 15 to 30 seconds is sufficient, and then you swallow it, and then it continues to be absorbed from that point. Now, when we talk absorbed, right, what do we mean by that? So here we have a much magnified, a very, very high magnification of a cell membrane. This is the kind of the wall or the protection of the cell. This is what determines what goes in and out. Now these cells, these signaling molecules are so tiny that they are able to freely pass through the cell membrane inside of the cell. And so they are literally absorbed from outside to inside of the cell. So when we say absorbed, that's what we mean. And that's why it's important to know that these are tiny molecules, because they can pass through the cell membrane into the cell, being absorbed by the cell. So the next word, we talk tiny molecules. Because they're tiny, they're absorbed. Once they're absorbed, they act as an on-off switch, right? So once that molecule is absorbed, that flips the switch on in the cell, for example. Once that switch is on, that signal begins to be sent to the cells around it. And then those cells signal to the cells around them. and you guys can see where I'm going with this, you see the domino or cascading effect throughout the cells in the body. And so what happens is you create this cascade or domino effect that is upregulating or increasing the amount of communication that the cells have with each other. And that has a variety of benefits. But it's this cell signaling cascade or domino effect that contributes to our stress resilience and our overall wellness. So again, here are the signaling keywords, the cell signaling keywords and concepts. So I'm going to go through this one more time for you. These are the words that you want to take away from this presentation. We've gone pretty deep here, and that's great. But we are worried about that here at the Redox Center so that you don't have to. The part of this that I want you guys to see are these concepts here. So let's go through them one more time. Cell signaling molecules are tiny molecules. And because they are tiny, they can be absorbed directly into the cell. Once they are absorbed, they act as an on-off switch, turning on cell signaling. Once that cell signals another cell, that cell begins to signal the next, and that cell begins to signal the next, beginning a cascade or domino effect. And it's that cascade or domino effect that contributes to our resilience to stress and overall wellness.